But first, Afghanistan. Let's talk about Afghanistan. I served in Afghanistan as a U.S. Marine twice. Here's the truth in 2 sentences. Hear what he's got to say. What we are seeing in Afghanistan right now shouldn't shock you. It only seems that way because our institutions are steeped in systematic dishonesty. It doesn't require a dissertation to explain what you're seeing, just 2 sentences. 1. For 20 years, politicians, elites, and DC military leaders lied to us about Afghanistan. 2. What happened last week was inevitable, and anyone saying differently is still lying to you. That has been my problem with the coverage. And apparently Biden's done a good job of actually evacuating people. They got like 16,000 out yesterday. Never forget the Washington Post published the Afghanistan papers, proving definitively how we were lied to the entire time, that you shouldn't be shocked about what's going on because our military leaders knew it 20 fucking years ago. And we know this. It is documented. And I am tired of the faux outrage from the asshole Republican politicians. Confidential trove of government documents obtained by the Washington Post reveals that senior U.S. officials failed to tell the truth about the war in Afghanistan throughout the 18-year campaign. Now 20 years, this was published 2 years ago, making rosy pronouncements they knew to be false and hiding unmistakable evidence that the war had become unwinnable. The documents were generated by a federal project examining the root failures of the longest armed conflict in U.S. history. They include more than 2,000 pages of previously unpublished notes of interviews with people who played a direct role in the war, from generals and diplomats to aid workers and Afghan officials. It's disgusting. And the imperialist propaganda in the news from all fucking outlets. I saw a story. I almost threw it on my rundown. Like a story from Newsweek that was just sheer fucking propaganda. I was outraged. What up, Duty? But keep that in mind as we go through these next few stories. Taliban spokesperson, we are not in favor of allowing Afghans to leave. Taliban spokesperson Zabihullah Mujahid said Tuesday that Afghans should stop attempting to reach Kabul's international airport, and reiterated that the militant group would not agree to extend the August 31st deadline for U.S. troops to withdraw. The evacuation effort has ramped up significantly over the last 48 hours, but giving Mujahid's statement that we are not in favor of allowing Afghans to leave, the window to complete the operation could soon begin to close. And I want to make it perfectly clear, as I said last night, I don't want to be callous to the situation. I am all in favor of getting as many fucking people out of there as like a lot of the media has been focused on, like, just the people that helped the war effort. No, anybody that wants to leave Afghanistan, bring them the fuck here. I'm all about it. Give them Montana. Give them one of the Dakotas. Just go ahead, give it away to them. Well, I mean, yes, we are negotiating with terrorists again, but I mean, the Taliban is the government of Afghanistan. And I mean, not the recognized government, but that's who runs the fucking country, so it makes sense to negotiate with them. The director of the CIA held a secret meeting with the leader of the Taliban. It was the highest level meeting between the U.S. and the Taliban since the group took over Afghanistan. CIA Director William Burns met with, and I did not know who the CIA Director was, and all this fucking confusion. All the shit that has happened this year. When I picked this story out, I was like, I don't even know who the CIA Director is right now. CIA Director William Burns met with the current Taliban leader, Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar. Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar. I'd only seen him referred to as Ghani. Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar. Monday in Kabul, the highest level meeting with the group since it seized Kabul just over a week ago. Burns flew to Kabul Monday in secret for the meeting, reported the paper, with Baradar, who acted as the Taliban's top negotiator in talks with the Trump administration to set the terms of the American withdrawal agreement. Burns, a respected diplomat, is the highest-ranking U.S. official to meet with the Taliban since last weekend's abrupt collapse of the U.S.-backed Afghan government of President Ashraf Ghani. Oh, maybe that was the Ghani I was thinking of. Maybe I'd never heard of this Baradar guy. Close confidant of Taliban founder Mullah Muhammad Omar, Baradar was arrested in Pakistan in 2010 in a joint operation between the CIA and the ISI and held for 8 years at the American prison in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, before being released in 2018. In 2020, he personally negotiated the final steps of the peace deal between the U.S. and the Taliban with Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, and the two men were photographed together. With tens of thousands more foreign citizens and Afghans granted humanitarian visas waiting to escape Taliban rule, Burns can be expected to have discussed the promised August 31st deadline to withdraw that the Taliban have thus far refused to extend among multiple urgent subjects. With thousands of visa holders and citizens of their own still at large in the country, Britain, France, and other U.S. allies in the region have requested an extension until the airport, which would return to Taliban military control on the 1st of September, can be fully cleared of people fleeing. Thousands more Afghans, many of whom worked as interpreters or served in the Afghan military, have thronged the airport gates, which are guarded by a confusing mix of Taliban, Afghan National Army, and foreign military forces. Biden is said to be considering a decision on extending the mission into September and could make an announcement as soon as Tuesday, according to American media reports. I had not seen that as of just a couple of hours ago. But now a couple of people did issue statements on Afghanistan. They are representatives Greene and Gaetz.
Briefers have concluded they're now taking questions, and it's very clear to me that these people had no plan. We're getting an operational briefing for people who were not prepared for the operation.
That is, the committees in Congress received a intelligence briefing today.
The current situation in Afghanistan is very dissimilar to 9/11. In 9/11, there were a variety of things that broke down throughout the intelligence community that had a tragic...
I would like to take this opportunity to once again ask, why is Matt Gaetz still in Congress?
One flawed assumption, that the Afghan government and that the Afghan military would ever fight. We send the Department of Defense off for thousands of studies in the National Defense Authorization Act, and they appear to have studied everything except what actually happened, which was
weed. I can smoke again.
This is a total failure of nation building. It's a total failure of neoconservatism, and it's our hope that going forward we'll actually get a team in place that knows what the hell is...
That's what I'm saying, Curiouser.
That group of people, they didn't know what was going on beforehand. They had this flawed assumption that the Afghan government would fight, and it's particularly frustrating.
I wonder how the Cuban boy thing is working out now that Gaetz married his woman. They got hitched over the weekend.
To continue to hear the intel professionals tell us a different thing than
welcome, RB.
Officials. We can't get into the specifics of what we.
Uh-oh, we got a cat ass over here.
Very different assessments from the DNI than I heard from the Secretary of State and from the Secretary of Defense. Congressman.
Oh yeah, Nestor.
What I just heard in there is beyond appalling to me. What Americans need to know at home is this administration has failed you on every single level. Now,
This administration. What did we just read? What did we just... this is a failure going back 20 fucking years. That we've been lied to the entire fucking time. And that the Trump administration negotiated all of this.
everyone knows there are Americans trapped in Afghanistan, but this was Joe Biden's fault, Kamala Harris's fault, and all of his administration and those...
There's abuse of something going on with both of these people.
Was completely irresponsible. They had the information and they knew...
There's abuse of common decency going on with both of them.
Now, there is no trust in an administration that would do this to our very own people. This is not a political issue. I do not care about Republican or Democrat. We should all be focused on Americans stranded in Afghanistan and our...
How do I sound in glorious stereo?
That is what should be number one. I'm also purely disgusted at Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats calling us back here to talk about passing bills when our sole focus should be on getting Americans out of Afghanistan. Ma'am,
infrastructure is an incredibly urgent issue, especially to me. Like, I don't get a focus on it enough. There are over 40,000 bridges that are listed as structurally deficient in this fucking country. It scares me to death when I drive over the Tennessee River. I think infrastructure in this country is a very pressing issue.
No trust. I have no confidence in this administration. Every single one of them should resign. And America needs new leadership that actually cares about our people, our children, our grandchildren, and all of our money. Those people making decisions on what has happened are the same people in charge for decades now. And look at where we are. It is time.
Oh, you're not tied down to the computer.
And that is why I'm walking out here.
I see what you're saying. Hell yeah, Adam.
Everyone should be appalled. Everyone should be demanding for them to resign. I demand for them.
I am appalled. I have demanded for you to resign, for Matt Gaetz to resign. I am incredibly appalled, woman.
Them to resign. They have failed America, and I'm fed up with it. Thank you.
How many Americans are left in Afghanistan that need to be repatriated? Did they give you specific?
I did not hear anything in that briefing different.
I am not high enough for this shit.
On the Sunday shows, which was a great deal of confusion and poor record keeping and insufficient effort.
Absolute fucking morons.
They said how many, as of today, have been repatriated?
That would get into...
This is just your levity break. We're getting ready to get into some heavy shit. Warning.
What do you guys want to see? What would be your recommendations as members of Congress for how they could fix part of what is going on now?
Well, any trust...
Yeah, let's hear it. Let's hear it. What would you do? You're a member of Congress. What is your suggestion, Matt Gaetz?
In whatever remnants of the former Afghan government that were propped up is misplaced. Any trust in the Taliban to be able to deliver security outcomes for our fellow Americans is misplaced. I stand before you not as a principal critic of Afghanistan withdrawal. I'm a member of the Armed Services Committee. I've been one of the loudest Republicans on the Armed Services Committee in support of President Biden's decision to withdraw. So I don't critique that.
Well, then what?
Not at all. It is the intelligence failure and it is the operational failure that those men principally in that room led, and they failed. How are we supposed to take the word of Lloyd Austin and General Milley on what's going on in Afghanistan?
They too woke for you.
They didn't even plan for the Taliban takeover that so many of us knew was inevitable. I think that a change in personnel would go a long way to building confidence in an evacuation.
Okay, so he just said it was inevitable. If this was inevitable, what did you expect them to do about it?
Is there a conversation in there about that you could share about extending that August 31st?
Just bitching about it. That's all it is.
Chad?
Thank you. This follows from the idea
His hair looks good.
position on withdrawing from Afghanistan prior to this case, but your minds weren't already made up about criticizing the administration.
Like, that's a good haircut. I'm sure he paid like $100 for it.
Were your minds not made up ahead of this, what you were going to say, regardless of what you heard?
No, look, we are always hopeful that people will bring an actual plan informed by the facts on the ground. What we've seen from Secretary Austin and General Milley is a total lack of understanding about Afghanistan, and it's not just them. It's political leadership of yesteryear, it's military leadership of yesteryear. How many briefings has this Congress gotten about the built-up capabilities of the Afghan government?
Well, I don't know.
It was all a lie.
You're the one in Congress, sir, and I don't know how.
It's been told in
After all the shit you have been accused of, I don't know how you're still in Congress.
that government was ever going to hold. And we knew that it wouldn't. That's why we supported President Biden's decision to withdraw, but to not plan for the eventuality and to still have no plan is an insult to our country, and it is particularly...
He never answered the question about, like, what he would do. It's just shifting over like, oh, we just want to fucking throw the blame on the Biden administration. We want to bitch about the Democrats. And we want the spotlight on ourselves. Those are two media whores. The rest of the Republican Party gave a press conference on Afghanistan. These two did their own. That's all it is. Trump teases potential 2024 bid amid Afghanistan crisis. We won it twice. I've won it twice now. No, you haven't. And now I have to win it again. I guess if we're going to save the country, look, I'll make a decision. Trump told conservative talk show host Lisa Booth on her podcast, The Truth with Lisa Booth, that's a fun fucking name. I like alliteration. The Truth with Lisa Booth. The Truth with Lisa Booth. It won't be maybe for a little while. You know, a lot of people would like to see a decision immediately, but perhaps there's also a big group, including maybe myself, that would like to see it after the midterms. Trump has made repeated false claims that he won the 2020 presidential election and has stated that the race was rigged and tainted by widespread voter fraud. However, there's been no substantial evidence to suggest that the election was subject to widespread election fraud.